I guess
Who's that?
Leon's like a little bit taller. Leon and Islam.
Probably close in size. Probably close in size. I thought that was a good question.
Oh, okay, yeah, my bad. I didn't even know we were live. I was just like looking through these rankings and just like just the champ side by side, and it's just like I don't know, because and it had me just kind of just my brain just being a little stoned thinking just like what does Islam Leon look like just because the pictures are right next to each other and like
Like
I mean
Leon's probably a little taller, maybe an inch or
taller, yeah.
two, but like he's so thin in the waist, and Islam's so not too big below the waist,
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's like, and
which
then you
looks weird because Volk's so small but so thick.
so
Um,
small and thick,
but for anyone that's wondering, welcome into the prelim breakdown. UFC 281, episode 110 for the Beefy Boys here. You know it's a super stacked prelim whenever we're talking about guys like Ryan Spann and Dominic Reyes not even being the featured prelim fight. I mean, that's
and
a
our
fight
girl
night.
Aaron Blanchfield, Molly McCann. Like that's a big fight to be on prelims, man.
Which I'm excited to get to that one, just because I want to talk about the fans and how I don't know if I agree with them or not on the way they approached that fight. But before we get there, we do have to start with the middleweights. Andre Petrosky, who minus 190 favorite. We're not his biggest fans. I'll just be blatantly honest with it.
Yeah, well,
Fighting.
this is a fight between two guys that the Beefy Boys just
Yeah, I
really
do
aren't.
not love Turman either. Wellington
Yeah,
Turman plus 160, also not one of my favorite guys.
yeah, no doubt. And like, I just don't like Petrosky because anybody that remembers that season of Ultimate Fighter, like they were all like kind of setting him up to win it. As we all know, Brian Battle ends up winning it, and Trayshawn Gore
Trayshawn
comes
Gore
in
is cool too.
second.
Like he's awesome now. Like I like him a lot more than I did.
So it's like we get awesome guys like Battle and Gore that come out of that season, but the UFC was trying to like shove Petrosky down our throats and kind of still are to a certain extent.
Well, it's
And
Felder's
I mean,
boy, so I get it. They're doing a favor.
yeah, and he trains with Sean Brady and those boys up there in Philly, so like the right gym. Like I get it, and there's definitely like a demographic to like market his Dan Bilzerian looking ass too. But it's just like I'm not that market, so it just misses me.
Very, yeah, that's a great point too. Yeah, and honestly, you hear the name Andre Petrosky and you think, oh, he's like a Russian, Eastern European. He's from Philly. Like he literally has a Philly accent.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, he's a good fighter. We'll get to it. Actually, I thought he was a minus 190 favorite coming into this one, plus 160 dog for Turman. I actually like if I could just eliminate my feelings and from a betting perspective, I actually thought that was pretty decent value on Petrosky. I thought they were like kind of giving him one to win, in my opinion. Like, so we're not the highest on Turman, although Turman did perform very well in this fight and proved to be a tough fight for him. I did kind of like that. I didn't bet it though. Really aren't my favorite fighters fight, then like watching them go to absolute war is like
Yeah,
best case scenario. And whole card very entertaining. Like from a like a watching, like I'll be real. Sometimes 7 hours. There's guys that go from early prelims to main event. I was like, oh, is Meatball good? Is this going to be a 10-7 round?
it was going towards 10-7. Like I would have scored it 10-7.
Because Meatball always, I mean, completely defenseless. Also, do you think that it should have been stopped, especially the precedence that was like kind of set and like is implemented later in the card? Like,
I struggled with it because Molly wasn't showing, like, the damage wasn't, like, accumulating on her face that fast. Her face was red, but she never got split open. She wasn't bleeding out of her nose. She never quit trying to arch and fight, and did get her arm free at one point, only to get it retaken again in the crucifix, and then got put to
yeah,
the Kimura, and then escaped the Kimura, and then immediately got put back in the Kimura. It was one of those things of, like, she was doing just barely enough.
just enough.
Like, I mean,
Well,
just
well,
barely
and
enough.
actually, that may be being generous to Meatball. I think if Blanchfield just like shifts the ratio of bows to punches,
I think you're right.
there's there's like I think there was Blanchfield's wrongdoing that kept it from getting stopped earlier, more so than it was anything Meatball was doing. Meatball was literally flopping around like a dead fish. I mean, yeah, you could say that's defense and effort, but she was just kind of flopping around, getting punched in the face like literally hundreds of times.
Dude,
Um,
they put up a great post on Barstool on I believe it was Instagram from Dave Portnoy's Instagram, which is someone filming him while he's watching the fight. Meatball's a signed Barstool athlete along with Patty, so they're there to support her. Which also Barstool did a great interview with John Anik. Made me love John Anik a whole lot more because he talks about the two things he loves in life are betting and weed, and I was like, this dude's great.
and it did.
Yeah, and he has a bunch of
Well,
tattoos you can't see because he makes bets on the fights, but you can't bet money because he's assigned UFC personnel. right? So he can't bet on.
He bets tattoos.
Yeah, he bets tattoos. He has a Brazilian flag on him. He has the Nate Diaz 209 from when Diaz showed up on late replacement and beat Connor. He has a bunch of weird stuff.
Oh, that's hilarious! I had no idea.
And so the Barstool guys asked him, and I thought this was interesting. They asked him, so tell us about our girl Molly. Like, does she have a chance in this fight? Like, what should we do here? And he said, well, you guys know that I go through fighter interviews, fighter meetings, so I'm privy to information you might not have. But then he goes, I don't know if you guys have seen the betting line, but that's probably where I would direct your eyes. And that to me said, she's got no shot in hell. This girl is the clear favorite for a clear reason.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the phrase puncher's chance, shout out Bruce Buffer, but like puncher's chance, like it's an overused term, but like seriously, that was Meatball's only path to victory was to like catch Blanchfield with a shot that she hasn't like eaten before.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Catch her on an injury in the knee, something weird.
Yeah, and it didn't happen. So I mean, Blanchfield, she ends up getting she doesn't even get the knockout. She finishes her with Kimura.
Which, good thing Molly tapped because her arm was about to get spiral fractured from the shoulder down. That was such a deep Kimura. And this all happens in one round. That's the crazy thing to me, too. Is this all this action that we're talking about, all these sub attempts, these places you get caught in, these are usually fight-ending sequences.
Yeah, we got 15 minutes worth of action and numbers in 3 minutes and 37 seconds. Blanchfield gets the win, cashes the first leg of my parlay. Now, I don't fucking really like this call-out. I mean, I guess I get it. I'm pulling up the women's flyweight rankings right now.
Oh, no, I'm a big fan of the call-out. Big fan of the call-out.
So she calls out Andrea Lee, who's 9. I thought she should have aimed higher. I thought she should have shot for the stars. I mean, she just beat a huge star in, like, the most dominating fashion you can humanly beat somebody.
Blanchfield ranked 10 today. As of the rankings, so like she had the reins to call out 6, 7, 8, 9.
That's what I'm saying. I would have. Araujo's coming off a loss. Even Maya, it was just one shot above. Grasso's coming off a loss.
I think Maya or Araujo was the call out, and I think Araujo is probably the best call out because I think she still beats Araujo pretty convincingly.
I think she could have parlayed the Grasso call out to a fight night main event, like in
an easier night out. This was that fight for him.
This was supposed to be it. Yeah.
Now, as it all turns out, Ryan Spann misses weight by ½ pound. Well, the reason I want to bring that up is because now they're ineligible for a bonus, obviously, right? Or at least he is. So if Dominic Reyes finishes him, he can still get the bonus. But if Ryan Spann wins, John Jones apparently was that guy at the start of his career. Never trained him, was that good.
And like...
It's easier to do when the bigger you are as well, because power translates.
I love it and hate it. Like it's a lot of fun and it's fucking like awesome and like if you want to say dog and it's great, it's fun, it's awesome, but it's also like he's really just kind of cheating himself, you know what I'm saying? And probably us fans who like want to see him like reach the heights, the highest of highs, because like. And so Joe in the post-fight interview was like, all right, can we get a promise that you're going to have a training camp next fight? And he's like, yeah, I'm done bullshitting. Easier said than done, you know. Training camp's long, hard, not fun, you know, expensive. So, I mean, for me, you, every other UFC fan out there, I hope we do get, like, peak Ryan Spann, like, focused Ryan Spann, like, is that going to be one of these mythical fighters, like full training camp Ryan Spann, like others, like, you know? But
let me ask you, where do you want to see him go next? Because he moved all the way up to 10. Reyes fell to 12, which I think is about right. And also, he said, I mean, his call out was hilarious. He said, I want top 5, but I don't want 4, 3, or 2.
Yeah, which means he's open to 5, who's Anthony Smith.
So he's like, I'll fight Anthony Smith or Glover/Yuri.
Yeah, or maybe John. Like I could see if Yuri beats Glover, he probably retires, which moves Jan up to 1. I don't know if Spann was taking all that into account whenever he said this. It did sound cool though. Me and Nina went back and forth talking about it. Because we're like, wait, what did he mean by that? I think I even could look a lot like the Spann fight as far as just fighting a plus athlete.
I know. I kind of feel like it too. And Khalil Rountree throws pretty down the middle, Muay Thai guy. That's not what Reyes needs to be fighting. Because when dudes throw straight down the center line, he struggles.
Reyes with the bad knees fighting, what is it? What's it? Like just the knee destroyer, McGee, Roundtree might be tough. So But man, that's another guy where it's like Reyes could maybe go win $1 million PFL or fight for a belt in Bellator. It's almost like getting cut might be a blessing in disguise. Because I don't think these top UFC light heavyweights, especially this kind of resurgent era, because you got to think when he was fighting John Jones, that was like the dead era of 205. That's when everybody was talking about this division needs light. It was before Yuri came along. It was before Jamal Hill came
Yuri,
along.
Ankalaev, Rakic, Hill, Krylov. Ozdemir was just making his shine then.
So it's like, I honestly think in another like promotion, he could have a lot of success. I mean, like PFL, I'm sure would love to have him on a pay-per-view. Their pay-per-view looks whack as fuck. But like Reyes would be better than anything on that pay-per-view. So it's like, I honestly like. It sounds like I'm like saying negative things, but I was like, if he went to another promotion, man, you know what I'm saying, or like he could, I think, win a lot more money and be a lot more relevant, be at the top of the bill. Because you're right, otherwise he's fighting the Jacobys and Albergs of the world and maybe not winning those. So it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know where Reyes goes from here. I mean, that was a bad knockout. Is the chin gone? He's a young guy-ish, you know what I mean? And it's like, I honestly might rather see him in a PFL or something along those lines. Like, I know that sounds like a backhanded compliment. I think he could have success there.
I'm there with you, man. I think Reyes' heyday in the UFC is over. I don't think he ever gets as close to the belt as he was in those 2 attempts he had to win it. I also just think that mentally, man, he's got to figure it out. Like, he's got to go back to the drawing board. He's got to reassess his defensive approach and start to become a better counter striker than a forward striker. Because as much damage as he did to Yuri and as good of a fight that was, had Yuri rocked, but Yuri's one of those guys that you get him rocked, it really doesn't mean anything, right? And then if you look at the Blachowicz fight, he's really not close. I mean, he's eating body kicks that are literally like bruising his ribs on the point of impact. And then if you look at his fight with Spann, I mean, it's literally the least impressive showing he's had. So
yeah, he's like
continually getting worse, right? Like each performance is here, then here, now here. It's like, man, I don't know. He's like, Dana, that's 50 fucking G's. Moicano wants money.
Everybody was counting him out after he took the RDA fight on like 4 days notice or something like that, and like.
Lost
he should have got a bonus that
decision, and he's like, you guys called me 4 days before the fight. I'm drinking a beer, eating steaks. And he's like, I still come make the weight. I still show up and do this. And he talks about how he used to be a top-end featherweight and is just like fallen off after his loss to Aldo. I went and looked it up, man. Check this out. Since being in the UFC, his debut fight in 2014 beats Tom Ninimaki, no one knows, beats Zubaira Tukagov, most people know, beats Jeremy Stevens in 2017, so you're not talking old washed Jeremy Stevens.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Yeah, literally right around that time. Like a year after that quote happened is when he beat Stevens. Then gets submitted by Ortega, who doesn't, right?
Yeah. No shame there.
Then has a win.
Gamrot due to him. Like, I don't love that matchup.
Now, see, the Gamrot matchup I'm very interested by, because dude's jiu-jitsu is so good, and Gamrot loves to wrestle. That could be a very fun fight, and that's not to say Moicano's bad on the feet, and Gamrot's not the best on the feet, but also not bad on the feet. I think that's a fun fight. I think the RDA one writes itself. I think Vazeev is a nightmare. I think Sarukian's a nightmare. I think Jalen Turner's a nightmare. Demirez Magulov and Dan Hooker are probably his best next two